Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm NK.
And I'm Courtney.
Courtney, how are you?
Wow. It has been the longest day of my life. I'm so tired. I'm so stressed. I didn't know it was gonna rain today. That was step
Mm.
one. I even listened. You know what? That's a lie. I did not listen to Alexa when she told me what the weather was today because I was locked away in my office and I just heard her speaking and I was like, I don't know what she said. Um, it stormed. I got it. So I usually leave work between 4:30 5:30. And at like 4:30, uh no, at 4:45 I got a notification that said there was severe thunderstorm warnings, storm warning in my area to like 5. And I was like, cool, I won't be home at 5 because it's 4:45 right now. And then like 30 seconds later, I got a notice that there was now a warning in New Orleans till 5:30. And I was like, okay, no big deal. I'll just, yes, no. So no big deal.
Yeah.
Like, I'll just wait until 5:30. Then at like 5:10, I get a notice that it's until 8 p.m. And I was like, well, I cannot stay at the office until 8 p.m. That
No.
is unacceptable. And then when I got home, I got a notice that it's till 8 a.m. So who's to say? And for those of you who don't know what I drive a Scion TC, which is a very low car, in case you were wondering. So it doesn't do well on flooded roads. And I live on River Road. So obviously it floods. And we like in Lakeview is the area I work in, which also floods. So I had to like
Yeah,
get
because
out
for
of that
those of you
area.
who don't know geography, New Orleans is below sea levels.
Right, right. So it's all wet unless you're like on a bridge. Um, and so normally I like go behind everything and then take River Road home, and it's like, 30 to 40 minutes depending. It took me an hour to get home, at least. Um, because I had to go all the way down the airline, and then I had to like wait in line with everyone else first of all. So there's more traffic than normal.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't take River Road because especially the riverside like floods way more than like the land side.
Yeah.
And so I had to go past my house and like make a big circle all the way back around. So I'm already going farther, but even going the farther way, I had to keep going instead of where I would normally cut off at. And that was just like so annoying. And I've been so stressed because like Sadie wouldn't eat the past 2 days and was barely like moving around. And I thought she was dying. And so like every day coming home, I'm like, God, I'm gonna get home and Sadie's just like gonna be so sick. But she's fine now. She ate her food while I was at work today, finally, and did not throw up while I was at work today, which she's been doing the past 2 days, and greeted me at the door and even reluctantly went outside.
Well.
So I've just been stressed. I have 10 essays to grade tonight. I did grade other essays, it's just the remaining ones.
Oh, God.
And I have 4 essays I need to write for myself. Um, so I'm thriving. It was very helpful to get home an hour later than I planned. Hmm. How are you?
Uh, you know, I've had a song stuck in my head for about a week straight.
Hmm.
Just one part of the song. Because I've been really wishing that it was an appropriate response to everything that everyone has said to me for the past week. But breaking out into the moment of death becomes her, where you tell everyone that that was pretty fucking rude, is not the way to deal with things at work.
So I haven't seen the movie or the stage show. I don't know anything about it.
Okay, which is fair. I have not seen the stage show, obviously, either. But I'm sure you've heard the trending TikTok sound, especially because I posted a video on TikTok using that sound.
I
Where
don't think
it's,
I've been on TikTok in a week and a half.
well, I posted the video 3 weeks ago, so
Maybe I
shows
wouldn't
what
have that either.
sh- shows what a good friend you are, whatever.
I know. I'm so
No,
good at
but there
TikTok.
is a video, a sound of the video where she just goes, "That was rude.
Oh, I
That
did hear
was
that.
pretty fucking rude."
Hmm. Hmm.
And I would like to say that to everyone, all of the
Yeah.
time. And it's not an
Same.
appropriate thing. But I
No.
also got Kate and Chrissy on it. So sometimes things happen in the office and the three of us just sit there at our desks and just go, that was rude. And we fill in the rest in our heads. Not out loud. Because it is exam time. And for those of you who are not familiar with New York State's laws about teaching students who are English language learners, there are a lot of specifications for exams for those students that are not dictated by the teachers or the school. They are dictated by the state and are part of the state testing administration manuals. So when our administrators try to not follow them and we throw fits and then they tell us that we're not doing things correctly, it becomes an absolute dumpster fire.
I love that for you. That sounds
So
very exciting.
I'm just very over this school year.
Oh, hopefully don't fall
Three
off my headphones.
I have
Okay.
three more class days and
That's
then
exciting.
exams. So like we have exams tomorrow and then we have class Thursday, Friday, Monday, and then it's just exams. But I also sang that song to my lovely husband this morning because this is the third year that he has been teaching at the school that he is teaching at. And his school is a private school that has a different school year than public schools, and they get out early. I'm
Mm.
aware of that. I've been complaining that he's done with work 10 days earlier than I am. Fine. We're already past that. My exams don't start till next week. His exams started this week. And in the first 2 years that he went to school, or that he worked at the school during their exam week, they went to work. He went to work all 5 days of the week, and the kids would have testing Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and the staff would go in for grading Tuesday, Thursday. I assumed that was his schedule this week. Well, apparently those Tuesday, Thursday grading days are voluntary. You don't have to be in the building. You don't need to be in the building. Only if you feel the need to be at your desk at the building to grade do you need to be in the building. And if you don't have exams to grade, you don't have to be there. Do you know when he told me this?
This morning when you were walking out the door and you asked why he hadn't left yet.
This morning when I was struggling to get out of bed and he said, haha, I don't have to go to work today.
Divorced. I'm surprised he's still alive.
He's only still alive because he bought me sushi while I was at work so that I could have lunch when I got home.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah, but let me tell you, so 2:30 in the afternoon, I loved him and his sushi and his sweet face. But 7:30 in the morning, I was planning his fucking demise. Cannot believe that he waited until literally this morning to tell
He was kind
me.
of scared.
He was like,
I
I
mean,
didn't
that's
want.
probably still not the way I would have done it, but I probably would have waited till the
He was
last
like, I
minute.
didn't want you to be upset that you had to go to work and I didn't. I go,
Yeah,
I I would have been the same amount of upset anyway.
but you would have been upset with
Except,
anger.
no, I really wouldn't have cared. I already know he has less school than I do, that he's closer to his school year being over. Like, maybe, but I don't know. But while I was half asleep, not the time to tell me.
No, absolutely not the time.
Oh, God, what a gem.
The worst.
And now tonight he is at his history department. They're having a cookout at the department head's house, and he's like at a party without me. To be fair, he was like, I really hate that you're not coming. This is miserable. I don't want to go. But I was like, okay, but you have to, and I have to record the podcast, so bye.
This is life some days.
Yeah. But yeah, so other than thinking that everyone is audacious as fuck recently, I'm okay.
That's good.
Um, yeah. So since the weather and people are all terrible, can you put some pep in my step?
Always, I always guide. The only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it, and join the dance. Alan Watts.
I love that. Um, yeah, so today we are talking about Stargate SG-1 Season 8, Episode 2, or 1.5, depending on who you ask. Um, which, in my mind, meant I would have absolutely nothing to say for the little intro part of the episode. That's not
Right.
true. So, this episode, it is called New Order Part 2. Easy enough. It was rated 8.7 stars, and it did premiere as part of a 90-minute um, episode. So, it's on the same day. It's on July 9th. I have nothing to say in terms of the date. Like, no, same
Sure.
book, obviously, same book, movie, blah, 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 all the same day. However, apparently, the script was not written by the same person as the person who wrote the first half of the script.
I'm
So part
sorry.
part one was directed by Andy Makita, written by Joseph Malozzi and Paul Mully, and edited
Right.
by Eric Hill.
Mm-hmm.
This part was still directed by Andy Makita, but it was written by Robert C. Cooper and edited by Rick Martin, and I'm very confused how they managed to do that.
Did you look at a non-IMDb list to see if
Yeah,
IMDb just screwed everything up?
no, I also looked at
Huh.
the Gate World, which is the official like website that
Right.
like takes everything straight from.
Hmm.
Yeah. And there's some information that I know for a fact Robert Cooper wrote this script. One of my
Interesting.
trivia things is comes into play, and I know for a fact Robert Cooper wrote this script.
So maybe they just like wrote
So which
together
is
and then when they split it, they were just like, this first half really doesn't have any of Robert C. Cooper's lines.
I no, I
So,
think that it goes back and forth. Remember how I said it was one part, but then it was two parts, then it was one part. I think it
right.
started as two parts, and then they decided to
Oh,
air it
okay.
together. So I think it did start as two episodes, went back to one
Gotcha.
episode, went back to two episodes, went back to one episode, and now it's listed as two episodes again.
Gotcha.
I
That
think
makes
they
sense.
just
That makes
really could
sense.
not figure out what they wanted to do with this season premiere.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I like it as two parts, even if it was like two parts aired on the same day but as separate parts,
Yeah.
because it feels weird to start a season with a movie.
Yes,
Like,
but then also even weirder than that, these two episodes and the two episodes of the beginning of Atlantis are a continuous story.
right,
So it's really starting two shows with an
wait,
with a 3 hour movie.
did all four episodes come out the same day?
No. The
How did?
Stargate came out together and then Atlantis came out the next week.
Okay, that's good because I was gonna say like if they all came out the same day, did we just like flipsy flop on the
Just a
release?
whole night. No, oh God, no, 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 no. These all came out on the 9th of July and then Atlantis premiered on the 16th.
Gotcha.
Which I guess means that they're both Friday shows. You know what I think happened? I think this is me making this shit up on the spot. So if I'm entirely wrong, I'm wrong.
I believe you.
But I'm trying to remember back to 2004.
No, I thank you.
I think what happened was that they had back-to-back slots on the TV. So like it's like the Arrowverse on Thursdays on CW where you watch all three
Yeah.
shows in a row. I think they had back-to-back slots where it would be like Stargate for an hour and
Mhm.
then Atlantis for an hour. However, they needed to tell the story in the correct order. So I think they did a
Mm,
90-minute special of these two episodes and then a 90-minute special of those two episodes and then went to alternating episodes.
gotcha. That would make sense. That because like was the first two Atlantis also like a 90 minute
Yes,
together when it was
the first two
released?
Atlantis
Okay.
were also released as a 90-minute episode.
Don't really get to watch them together then.
Yeah. So that is and also the first two Atlantis episodes are credited on IMDb as a 90-minute episode. However, they're split on Amazon, so we're still going to watch it in two parts.
Good, 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 good.
But yes, so I think remembering back to 2004, I think that's how they introduced the new show was they aired Stargate as a 90-minute episode and then the next week in the time slot that should have been SG-1's next episode, they did the 90-minute Atlantis premiere and then went to like an 8 and 9 time slot for the rest of the season.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
If I'm remembering when I was 12 correctly, that's what happened.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. I would be surprised if that wasn't what happened.
Right, like that makes
You know,
sense on how they would like introduce new shows on TV that are in the same
right.
universe.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sorry. Can you tell me about your cup?
um, it says I wouldn't stop for red
Mm-hmm.
lights. There is a scene early in The West Wing where Donna's boyfriend
Right.
stopped for a beer before she was in the hospital and he stopped for a beer before she came to see him, and Josh says to Donna, just so you know, if you were sick I wouldn't stop for a beer, and she says if you were sick I wouldn't stop for red lights.
That's right. You've told me this story before, but I remember, and I've been staring at like since we got on the camera, and I'm like, why can't I remember what this is
Yeah,
about? It's very cute.
I got it for
It's very
Dan
cute.
and now only I use it.
And you stole it, yeah. Fair.
Yeah, it happens. Actually, my two favorite mugs to use are two that I bought for him, but now I use them.
I would say like I'm not married obviously, but I bought my mom a cup that's like a book cup, and it has this like the perfect lip, and it's like skinnier, but it's not too much taller than regular one.
That's
It's
what
really
these
my
are.
favorite
That's what
mug
these,
all
this
time.
and this one. So this one, my Stargate one.
I love your
And
Stargate one.
I have another one that I bought him that has Choco and Pancake on it.
Mhm.
Do you know who Choco and Pancake are?
You've told me before.
They're just
That
like
doesn't
this
mean
cute little
more than
internet
you've
thing,
told
but
me.
one of them looks like a chocolate bar and one of them looks like a pancake, and they're Choco and Pancake, but it's a couple who makes like cute videos. Um,
Mhm.
and it says you're the sweetest part of my life, and I got that for him too.
Yeah.
But
Well, this
no.
one's like a little bit skinnier than that. Like it's not like, and it's not
Mm,
like I have a Kiki Boost mug like that one.
yeah.
But this one it's a little bit skinnier.
Ooh.
It's probably about that height though, but and then it has the lip, a little bit more of a
Ooh.
lip, which I like. I like a lip.
Nice.
I like a lip or an angle. Those are my favorite kind of
All
mugs.
right. So yeah, so this episode weirdly is not as synonymous with the other one as I thought it was going to be. But we are going to talk about a guest star that weirdly can't believe we haven't talked about yet. Like, it went through and made sure we've never talked about him, but we haven't. And that is G. Patrick Curry, who plays Fifth.
Really?
Really. And the weird thing about it is, so he plays Fifth. Obviously, this is not the first time we've seen Fifth.
Mhm.
Um, he also played both Chaka and Iman last season. So remember when we talked about the fact that
Mhm.
it wasn't Deion Johnstone who played Chaka last season, and then
Yeah.
the actor who played Chaka also then played the two actors who played Chaka and the other Unas then played the two guys in Space Race. That was him. But I went back and looked, and all four of those previous episodes, there was someone higher credited than him. So I
Interesting.
have not yet talked about him. So I was like, oh, great. So G. Patrick Curry is known for Faces in the Crowd, Valentine, and Stargate SG-1. Um, he loves to paint, and he literally does not exist online.
Good for him.
I couldn't find a social media, couldn't find a Wikipedia, could not find shit about him. The loves to paint was in his IMDb bio, and then quite literally, he does not exist online.
I'm so happy for him.
So I
I
hope
hope
he's
he's
doing
living his best life.
he did do an interview on the Gate World YouTube channel a couple weeks ago talking about playing prosthetic face characters and like monster characters in Stargate, like as like a basically like a Comic-Con type interview. But I didn't have time to listen to it.
Mm.
And that was the only thing that showed up when I Googled him.
Yeah.
So here's looking at you,
I mean, he
kid.
is living
Um
his best life for sure.
yeah. Yeah, I'm sure. But yeah, so I was like, "Oh, I'm so excited. He's been in four previous episodes and we finally get to talk about him." And then I was like, "Or not."
Oprah will never say anything.
And so, the episode starts with a previously on, which only shows scenes from the season 7 finale and the previous episodes. So again, basically, I guess really when you think about it, it's 6 episodes that are one continuous story, which is nice.
It's like Snake. Every time you get an episode, it's before it, and so it just keeps growing and growing.
Yeah. Yes. Um The system lords are throwing a fit about not being allowed to leave, and Daniel's like, okay, call your ships off and we'll go. And they're like, we can't do that. And Weir's like, great, then you're a prisoner. And then we get
She
the
was just so
credits.
matter of fact. I was like, good for you.
Yeah.
Good
And
for
then
you.
we
Good
get
job.
the credits. Cool. Done. Um the ship that the Asgard blew up had debris that rained down on the planet, and the replicators have gotten into the system and are already infecting the programs needed to save the newly rebuilt Asgard race. We find that out. And this is when I said, remember we just talked about how the replicators just can't, we can't be done. We can't be done with them ever, no matter what we do. So it's like, yeah, you blew up the ship, but oh no, just kidding. They fell to the planet and now they're taking over everything. Um, then we flash to Lieutenant Pendergast, who is the new captain of the Prometheus, and he will be for a bit, so I will probably end up having to talk about him at some point. Um, but he sees a ship incoming and he hails it to like toward Earth. He hails it thinking that it's the Gould ship, but it turns out it's not. It is Teal'c and Thor. They've made it back to
Yeah.
Earth. And so we're lets the system lords know that the Asgard have arrived, and she's like, "Oh, and they want to see the ancient weapon demonstration." And the Gould are pretty basically like, "Cool, so do we."
Right. She is so. What's her name again? Iratsu?
Imaratsu.
Imaratsu? She is just so, like, smug. I don't know. I, like, can't with her.
I know, but it's funny. So her name's Amaterasu, and I know you haven't gotten there, but you did. Did you read the entirety of the first ACOTAR book?
Yes, and I started the second one. I couldn't tell you
Okay, but the
any
villain
more
in
than
the
that,
the
though.
villain in the first book, her name is Amarantha, and so every time I
Yeah,
try to
yeah, yeah.
say,
I
yeah,
knew
every time
that.
I try to
Okay.
say Amaterasu, like my brain is like Amarantha, and I'm like, no, wrong,
But kind of.
but kind of, yeah. Um, So Daniel comes in and he's like, too bad, Val destroyed your ship. The system lords are bowing to him. You've lost the war. And they're like, if we've lost the war, so have you. Like, I don't understand why you're bragging about this.
Right. These.
And before Daniel can continue being unreasonably smug, he gets beamed out of the SGC. And I have to say, I did appreciate the look of pure shock and stupidity on everyone's face in that room because no one in the room has seen that before.
No.
I was like,
And everyone that, when he arrives, everyone is just like, this
yeah,
isn't
no,
okay.
yeah, everyone on
SG's
board
what?
ship's just like, hey, Daniel, we're over here. And
Right.
but everyone in the SGC is like, what the fuck just happened?
You know. I love it.
Um, so Thor beams Daniel up and then immediately also beams Jack's frozen body up because he thinks that the ancient knowledge can finally give them something to defeat the replicators. Um, and then Teal'c has to tell Daniel that they're pretty sure that Sam is dead.
Okay, but he says that a little quickly.
Yeah.
He's just like, they're like, where's Sam? And he's like, oh, she perished. I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
know. Little tact,
Well,
little,
to be
I
fair,
understand.
it is Teal'c, A, but also he doesn't even say that. He says she was taken by the replicators and their ship was destroyed. So Teal'c is also leaving it completely up to interpretation. We're like 98% sure at this point that she is
Are
dead.
you sure? I thought he like straight up said
No,
that
he
she was
didn't.
destroyed.
He said that the ship was
Okay,
destroyed.
gotcha.
So he's like, the ship was destroyed. She was taken by the replicators and their ship was destroyed. And then there's like an awkward silence and it kind of like lends to, and she's gone. But
Mhm.
it's not, it's kind of like, I don't know. It just feels a little awkward because I understand that they're trying to like leave it up to negotiation. They're like not gonna say she's dead because they're all gonna like believe that she's not dead until it's too late. But also, Teal'c has no emotion in anything he says, and so it just feels like he forgot a line.
And also, it's the second episode of the season. You're not fooling anyone. We talked about this last week. Like,
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I will say it didn't fool anyone really, but I will say that that I think that it's more believable that she could have died in the second episode of a season in a show then than it would be now. Because now you have so much information online about cast lists and whose contract got renewed, and
mhm.
everybody is privy to everybody's business.
We'll see.
In 2004,
Agree with,
wouldn't be.
I agree with that for sure. However, I'm basing mine only on our 8 seasons we've watched so far.
Right.
And every season, our first and second episode has something to do. Literally, the only time someone has died in the like second episode was Kowalski.
Really.
That is it. We have not had it happen again in 8 seasons. It's not going to be
Yes,
the way Sam goes.
but I will say that after the finality of Janet, it's more believable that they're ready to like let people go.
Well, I don't believe that it wouldn't happen. I just don't
Right.
think it's going to happen in the second
No,
episode.
and
That's my
that's and
problem.
that's and that's fair. But I think it's really interesting, like the different ways that you could approach it. Because you could think of it like it's the second episode, she's the main character, she's not gonna die, moving on. But then you could
Mhm.
also think about it like we don't know who has a long-term contract. We don't know who's getting paid what. They
Right.
did just kill off they didn't kill him, but they just
Right.
bumped two major characters last season. Who else is on the chopping block? Like,
Well, I definitely think after that that like we are expecting someone else to go this season. And I think that this could, while not being like second episode it's going, but it could be like, oh, we're already putting Sam in danger. So one, are we getting everyone prepared because Sam's gonna die? Or
right,
two, was this Sam's like, oh, it's not her. Like, here's our
right.
tease, it's not her, it's gonna be someone
Yeah,
different, you know?
yeah,
Like, so
fair.
I could see it being a setup,
Yeah.
whether it's one way or I mean, I don't think Sam's going anywhere. Even after this season. I think Amanda Tapping's until the end. But
Okay.
you know, I think
Um,
it has some
no, that's
weight.
totally fair. Like there's a lot of ways that they could interpret you could interpret the heavy-handed awkwardness of the Sam dead but not dead. However, we will get there. I think the plot twist is a lot of why it was as awkward as it was.
Well, and also, well, I'll wait till after we talk about this thing because I have a comparison I'd like to
Oh,
make.
okay. So then we immediately cut to Sam, and she wakes up on a farm with long hair, very confused about what is happening. And Pete is there taking care of horses, and she just starts yelling at him and is like, "What the fuck is going on?" And he's like, "Listen, you left the SGC a year ago due to your mental stress. You are here living with me. We're in Montana. You are going to therapy because you keep having nightmares. Last night must have been a really bad one. Let's go inside and have pancakes." And for like a very split second, it's almost like that is believable that somebody's PTSD could put them in that position and that that is what like their partner would do.
So I will say, I knew it had to be something with the replicators, but I
Yeah.
did feel like to an extent, I was like, I could see them finding a way to wipe her memory. And like obviously she like says she remembers things, or like I could see them suspending time for her or something, you know,
Okay. Yeah.
more than just what happened. And so I was like, I don't know if this is a straight up like what it seems, which it was,
Yeah.
or if it was
Yeah.
something else
No,
that
but
was
it's
like,
like I think it is a belief like I obviously also knew that it was the replicators. We all know what's coming. I don't think but it's interesting the direction that it comes out. Like Fifth doesn't like tell like the Pete as like Fifth as Pete, his explanation for why she's having these feelings and why she's feeling this way is a very reasonable like
oh, for sure.
conversation. And they could have gone somewhere with that. Just that being her
Yeah.
actual reality. That would be I'd watch
Mhm.
that show.
Well,
Like
for sure. Well, the thing was, I said, I mean, this is a type of thing that happens where
yeah.
you put someone in a place, you pretend like their life is different than it is while you have a captive in a mind thing.
Oh,
Um,
I wasn't even worried, but
that's
I was like the story of her actually having quit the SGC and having these nightmares and
oh
like needing
yeah,
to go to therapy.
right. No, I mean that is
Yeah.
for sure how it's gonna go whenever she does. But like the my issue watching it is that I had already watched Supernatural, and I don't know if I've only watched like 2 or 3 seasons,
Yeah.
so no spoilers. Which came out obviously
I
after
have not
this.
watched it at all. Yeah, I was gonna
Well,
say,
they
but this
have
is later. That came out
right,
later.
but I watched that first, and it has an episode that's set in like a like rural cowboy town, and they replace people with people they love and make it seem like that while they're being held captive, like in a demon's lair. And so it's like almost the
Yeah.
same story, and it was the same like visuals. Like it had the same look to it as this did, like as if they had the same editor. Like it was so synonymous that it was so wild. I was like, it's unfortunate that I've seen Supernatural because this is exactly where my brain goes, which is the right way. And so I don't even have any like suspended disbelief that I would like
Got it.
prefer to have.
Which, to
And
be fair, is not the fault of the show because the show came
no, absolutely
first.
not. But that's what I'm saying. Like I wish that I
Yeah.
had seen this first because it would have had a bigger impact on me.
Yeah.
Just in general. Not that they did anything wrong. I liked what they did. I thought it was a good movie.
Yeah. No, that's totally fair. Um, oh, Thor, we go back to Thor, and he explains that he's going to defrost Jack and make sure his mind and merge his mind with the computer, but he has to leave the ancient brain thingy in um Jack's head. He has to leave the ancient library in Jack's head because um they have already downloaded a ancient repository. They have this information. However, um they don't have the time or ability to filter through it. It would be like downloading the entire Library of Congress onto your iPad and then trying to find one book without a search feature.
Mhm.
Like, there's no fucking way. And he's like, but maybe
Right.
if we use Jack's consciousness to like be the search feature, we'll be able to do it. Um, Daniel's very concerned that this is going to kill Jack.
Mhm.
And Thor is like, I'm gonna be honest, that is a risk I'm willing to take.
And to be fair, so would Jack.
Correct. 100%. Um, so we're on Earth, goes we are on Earth, but we are also goes to see Yu's first prime, and because he asked her to come in there, and he says that Baal's fleet will be worse than Anubis. It's not because Baal is worse than Anubis, but because Baal has amassed more power, like other Goa'ulds, other ships, other fleets than Anubis. And that Anubis was cocky and thought that his ancient powers made him something special, so he attacked Earth far before he was ready to succeed. Baal will not do that. And he says, I understand what you are trying to do by keeping us here and keeping some kind of like threat for yourself, but you need to let us go because if we aren't out there fighting, you don't have a chance. Let us try to do something about it. And at least if we're going to die, let us die with honor on the battlefield against our enemies rather than like sitting in a cell.
Right.
So then we go back to space, and Jack is connected to the ship. He appears as a hologram. He's walking around being Jack, but also still being an ancient Jack, which is so funny because he is still Richard Dean Anderson like really just shows how good of an actor he is here because he's still as awkward as ancient Jack, only completely in English this time. Like
Right.
it's not like he's saying nonsense, but he still seems like he thinks he's saying nonsense. Like
Right.
um and he was like already linked to the computer, already saw the recorded conversation, already on it, working on fixing it, gonna kill the replicators. Thanks. Back on Earth, Weir is going around to all the Goa'uld to tell them that they are going to be allowed to leave, and she gets to Camulus, and she's going to let him go fight Baal, and he's like, actually, can I stay here? And he
Can I have
requests,
it?
yeah, he requests asylum. He was like, my fleet was destroyed before I came here. If I leave, I don't have a fleet. I'm not useful to help Ball. I'm not going anywhere except for to be punished because I'm a system lord without a fleet or a following. I'll just end up having to be subjugated to someone else who will also probably not be able to defeat Ball. But at least if I'm here, I can be intelligence for you. I can help. Interesting.
Is
Um, th-
Camillus gonna be our fourth SG-1? No, your face said it.
no, sorry, that was a really interesting theory that I wish they would have run with.
I thought it would have been a good one.
It would have been a good one
Why
because
she
it's different than a
listen to
John.
all things I write
Yeah,
20 years later.
20 years later. Um, then so we go back to Sam, and Sam still feels like everything is wrong, and she just keeps asking Pete what's going on, and then Pete starts to yell at her, and she's like, "Yeah, see, this is why I know I'm right because Pete would never yell at me." Which, listen, I understand that it's out of character for Pete. I understand that it's not Pete, but girl, you don't know that.
And also, we started the relationship with him stalking.
Correct. We
Like,
started the relationship with him stalking you.
and
He is
didn't he
a
yell at you?
He is a police officer, which means he probably has unchecked mental health and anger issues that he is not dealing with because it's the early 2000s. And he is the level of police officer that asks his buddy at the FBI to check you out.
Right.
Um, and B, if he was, in fact, actually your husband who's been dealing with you having traumatic PTSD nightmares for years, for over a year, yelling at him that you don't believe that he's really there, I believe that he might snap.
I would think that. I would
Yeah.
think that too.
So I was like, this is how you know Sam's never been in a relationship because her immediate being like, he yelled at me. Dan is literally the nicest person in the entire world. Like to a point where it's almost like he can't be real that he's that nice. He has yelled at me.
Because he's a syrup.
Yeah. I mean, he's never really yelled at me,
Right.
but he has yelled at me. Like it's not like I'm like, oh, okay. You could calm down. That'd be good now. But so that was just wild to me. But of course, she it isn't Pete, so she does unfortunately get the win on this one. And Fifth undisguises himself and is like, but I love you, don't you understand? Okay.
He's too much.
Yeah. Back on the Daniel Jackson, which I love that that is the name of
That
their
is
ship.
the joy, my joy of this whole episode.
So back on the Daniel Jackson, Jack's mind is building something in the computer, but his body starts to really overload and he's dying, and Thor has to revive him, despite the fact that he's not quite ready with the weapon he's making. He wakes up with a headache and no memory of anything after getting the library in his head. And then we have one of my favorite scenes in the entire series where he just keeps repeatedly asking Thor or Teal'c why he has hair, and Thor keeps talking over any attempt to answer because there is no reason why Teal'c has hair. It just is.
Just is.
um, Thor is able to build the device that Jack designed based on the computer schematics, but none of them know what it is or what it does. Least of all Jack. Um, they drop back out of hyperspace and they're back at Orvilla, and Penegal, another Asgard, says that the replicators are acting too organized. So they believe that it must be a human form replicator in charge of everything because what they're doing just makes too much sense, and
Yeah,
replicators don't make sense. They don't have minds. Um, but Penegal says that he has already scanned the planet for life forms. There's nobody else there. Sam's not on the planet. It is just replicators.
for sure.
Dan got home a couple minutes ago and he's singing downstairs. That's what that look was for.
Isn't that his MO?
Yes, it absolutely is. Um, but he's in the bathroom, which means he's directly at the bottom of the stairs, so it's carrying up very, very loud. Um, Pentagal's signal cuts out, and they know that the replicators have now taken over the communication system as well. Um,
Good stuff.
Good stuff, because the replicators are great. Sam tells Biff that she'll never love him, and he goes like super villain on her, and we find out that she's literally trapped in like a cell made entirely out of replicator blocks.
Again, it's very similar to how you realize that the Stanford Demus store.
Oh, whoever is
Because when
trapped.
they come out, they're trapped in like dark mines and they're not really.
Um,
Anyways,
yeah. You and Amaterasu leave Earth, and she basically brands Camillus as a forever coward traitor and never come back to the Goa'uld. So like,
and
good
he's
joy.
like, cool, that.
Yeah,
That's my plan.
yeah. Um, Thor still can't figure out what the weapon is. They're still trying to decipher what Jack built. But then another Asgard named Aegir says that they found a human form replicator just floating wildly in space. And Thor, because he is the Jack O'Neill of the Asgard, beams it on board to try to use it to sync to his computer to find whoever the active human form leader is.
And which of the Asgard was the High Council?
Um, oh God, who was that?
Was
What
it the
was his
first one
name?
or the second one?
Well, no, Penegal
Oh,
is part of the High Council, but no, who was the early one who was on the High Council who just really thought they were all too much?
oh yeah. I forgot about him.
Um, what was his name? The Azard and
Did
Stargate.
it start with an F?
It did, I believe.
Feeling an
Um,
F name. Could you imagine if it was just like Frank?
where's the list of them? This is just telling me all about their society and their technology. Here we go. Freyr.
Prayer. Oh, I was
Freyr.
really close.
Yeah. Freyr was the one who was not about their shit. Um,
I can't remember what day of the week it is, but I remember that his name started with an F.
um, and Daniel's like, if he does come back to life, is that tank gonna hold him? Are we gonna be able to kill him? And Thor's like, probably not. Does it anyway. Um, what is oh. Oh, Sam, we go back to Sam's imaginary world, and she is yelling at Fifth that she's never going to participate in his fantasy, and things are getting off the rails, and then he disappears from the fantasy world, so now she's alone
But
on the
kind
farm.
be that way.
Right. Um, Using the replicator brain in the tank, Thor finds Sam. But then the replicator wakes up and connects to the ship and lets itself out of the pod and takes over the controls of the entire ship because we all saw that coming. Um, they're all trying to shoot at it. It's not doing anything. He steals the gun. He's about to kill everybody. And then Jack just grabs the weapon that he made, shoots it, and breaks the replicator into a tiny little a million billion puzzle pieces.
Reese's Pieces.
And Thor's like, okay, now that I've seen what the weapon can do, I get it. I can make it again. But like large scale, turn the whole ship into one. Which is crazy because could you imagine just looking at something once and then being like, I can redo that?
0%.
can't
Not even
can't even look at a recipe and be like, I can do that.
right. Well, to be fair, I could look at a recipe and then I may make it differently if I know what it is, because I'm not very good at just sticking to what you said. I do need to add things here and there. So
Yeah, but
even
like
if I
what if
knew what
that's
it
wrong?
was, what I do,
Yeah.
no, I know how it works.
Okay.
I listen to my heart and it comes out right.
Here's the thing. Cooking, that is
Yeah,
appropriate.
right.
Baking is
Oh
not.
no, of course you gotta like
Baking is
breathe
science.
wrong and it's
Yeah.
incorrect. Like
Yeah.
I
Cooking is art, baking is science.
correct.
Um
Yeah. So no, I
I'm
couldn't do the science part of it. I could do the art part of it.
I'm good at both depending on my mood, and I will not clean up after either.
I'm good at baking. It does not look good. It does not
Mm.
look good. Doesn't matter what I make. Um, Granted, I don't make like masterful looking food either. I just make food that tastes good and it doesn't look bad. sometimes you look at bacon and you're like, I don't know what you've done here. But at least the food, you're like, oh, that looks like,
Food.
yeah.
Yeah. Except
So
for
I'm just not
sometimes,
artistic.
yeah, except for something like, so Dan and I make these like, well, Dan makes them and I eat them. These, we call it French onion potatoes, but it's basically like just like breakfast potatoes, but like mixed with like onions and cream and basically made into like a really thick French onion stew, basically. Doesn't, it's not soup, but it's like French onion soup flavored breakfast potatoes. And they're delicious.
I'm
I'm
sure.
not, they're so good. It happened by he accidentally was just made things one day. And so the recipe's not the same anytime we make them because he just makes it up as he goes. But the one time he made them and he goes, I think I might have cooked it too long. And I go, no, I'm sure it's fine. And then he puts it on my plate and it literally looked like you put like straight up pulled pork. And I go, you might have cooked it too long.
Look, like I made the best pasta of my life, and I'll never make it again because one, they don't sell those mushrooms anymore at Aldi. They had them for one
Oh,
week, and I don't know what I did. There was butter. It was basically a butter pasta because I was like, I want a light pasta, and so
yeah,
I did make like a sauce.
yeah,
There was chicken. I can tell you what I did to the chicken because I pretty much always do chicken the same unless it's
yeah,
like for a specific dish.
yeah. But who knows?
But yeah, so no, I could not make a ship out of a weapon that I've seen one time.
Seems, yeah. Um, Meanwhile, he's gonna drop Jack and SG and the rest of the guys in SG-1 near the ship where they think Sam is. He can't send them into it because of the way the replicators work, but he can send them close. Um, they go out and they're walking through the forest of Vancouver or Orilla or wherever, because every planet is just the forest of Vancouver.
I was about to say, I understand we're balling on the budget. I get it. But I'm so sick of this forest. I'm so sick of it. Like, bring me a new location.
Yeah. Um, so but they get ambushed and they start shooting all the replicator bugs, and then Fifth appears and is like, "Stop shooting them, or I'll kill Sam." Yay! Um, Thor fixes the ship, but while the weapon is charging, the bugs start to flee, and the team has to follow them. Um, Sam is still trapped in her fantasy, and Fifth is still gone, and so she starts shouting for him to come back and talk to her. And he appears and says that they have to leave because Jack and the Asgard found a way to stop them. Um, we see on the outside that Jack has found where they are, and there's like a giant replicator bug ship, real creepy looking. And Fifth tells Sam that her friends clearly don't love her because he asked them to stop killing his brethren and they didn't. And she's like, no, my friends do love me. They just know I'd rather die than be with you. And I was like, girl, felt.
But,
But he's fragile. He's the boyfriend that you can't break up with because he will actually kill himself.
well, and this is one of the things that I found, like, like this episode didn't, overall, wasn't like 10 out of 10. Like, it was
Yeah.
fine. It was,
Yeah.
it was fine. We started a new season. Here we are.
Yeah.
However, when she tells him, like, I understand you're feeling things really big because it happened so fast for you, I was like, I never even thought about that. Can you imagine, like, so now they're not only figuring out how to be a human on top of being coming these bugs, but they're also, like, him in particular, no one else really yet, is figuring out how to process emotion. And he goes from, like, being an inanimate robot to being a full-fledged human adult.
And think about the fact that they're all based off of Reese and her emotional
Mhm.
processing. Girl couldn't process emotions.
Right.
She,
Yeah.
yeah. And so Sam is right, but he's also the teenage boy that when you break up with him, he tries to bomb the school, and
Right.
she
No, for
told
sure.
told him that she'd rather be dead than be with him.
Right.
And I was like,
That's not the line.
that is a way to handle that I wouldn't.
Mhm. Yeah. Right. Right. Right.
um uh, the bug ship leaves. The weapon charges. Thor saves the colony. Everything is great, but Jack still looks mad depressed because the Sam is gone forever again. But don't worry, no, she's not because Thor says he detects another life sign on the planet. So they find Sam and they save her. They have a cute little reunion moment. Um, then we get back to Earth, and Jack goes to see Weir and finds her packing up her office. And she's talking to him about the president, and she fills us in on the fact that um, Hammond has been promoted to what is unofficially the Secretary of the Department of Home World Security. Um,
Okay, that's fair.
um, and she has been, this is the connection to the beginning of the new season of Atlantis. She's been moved from being in charge of the SGC to being in charge of the research site at the Atlantis colony outpost. And Jack is potentially going to be promoted to a brigadier general and take over the SGC.
Is brigadier a term that's like frequently used? Because like I've definitely heard it in my life,
Mhm.
but I don't hear it
So here's the thing.
frequently.
There are just like the fact that technically Sam's title that she gets promoted to is lieutenant colonel. They don't actually call her lieutenant colonel every time they to her. There's like levels of promotions. So brigadier general is a type of general. They will not, but you don't, when you address him, you don't always use the full title. That's my understanding of the ranking system in the Air Force.
Yeah, I have zero understanding of it. I just was like, I've heard that word, but
Yes.
I don't know much more than that.
So, um, in the British military, brigadier is a rank unto itself. So, like, you
I think
move.
I've heard it in British military more than
Yes, there's a
in
character in
American.
Doctor Who called the Brigadier. Like, they just call
Well,
him
that
the
makes sense
Brigadier.
when I've heard
Yeah.
it.
So, the brigadier in the British military is a rank unto itself. Above colonel is brigadier, and above brigadier is major general.
Mhm.
In the in the UK, they refer to it as brigadier. In the US, it's still above colonel, below major general is brigadier general, but they don't call them brigadiers, they call them generals.
I see. I see.
Just like they don't call a major general major, they call them general. I don't understand it. I'm not in the military. Um,
Sure. Yeah. Same.
I would fail ethically.
Same.
So
Did I ever
Jack,
tell you they called whatever? So like when you graduate high school, people start calling you and trying to make you do all kinds of crazy
yeah,
stuff. And because I was in the band, they and I was like good. They
yeah,
like called me. I was like brushing my teeth. Like just I like remembered this moment.
yeah,
But the army band called me and were like, "Do you want to join the army band?" And I was like, "I don't think I want to do that." And they're like, "No, it's for everyone." I was like, "I really don't think so." And they're like, "Yeah, you have to like they're like you've got like really great like accolades or whatever." And I was like, "Yeah, but I really like I don't want to do that and I don't think I like would make it." And then they're like, "Yeah, you just go to what is it called?
basic
Military
training.
basic training." I was like, "Whatever the thing is for." And they were like, and I was like, "Okay, what are the requirements?" And then they like listed all of these requirements. And I was like, "I literally have none of those. I
Yeah,
have not one of those. I can play the clarinet really well and I can train and I can teach people. Like that is not a
yeah,
qualification for the military. I don't want to be in the military." And they were like, "Oh, yeah, I don't think you qualify." I was like, "Then why are we still talking?" Like, I was like, "This is
yeah.
such a waste of
No,
everyone's time."
my or Christina, my coworker, went to West Point. Um, not her original goal in life was never to be in the army. She was not like thinking
Mhm.
about being in the army, but she shot rifle. She was on the rifle team
Mhm.
in high school, and she was so good that she got a full ride scholarship to West Point to shoot rifle and went to the Junior Olympics.
Well, that's what they tried to tell me. They were like,
Yeah.
"You'll get a full scholarship with the band." And I was like, "I don't think so. I don't think I will."
Yeah. You probably could have, but then you would have also still had to be
With
in the
music,
army.
but not like with physique. They were like, "You have to be like with this
Yeah,
percentile and this height and this." And I was like, "I'm literally none of those things."
correct.
Like,
Yeah.
and I'm really in good shape right now for what I normally would be because I was in so many sports. And I
Yeah.
was like, and I'm still not the right shape you want me to be. It's
No.
like,
No. But so Jack goes to talk to the rest of SG-1 about whether he should take the job or not, and they're going back and forth on the pros and the cons of what he would do if he had the job, blah blah blah. And then Daniel says the magic word, which is that if he takes his job, he can do whatever he wants, which is all Jack has ever wanted, to do whatever he wants.
well, because he was talking about, he was like, I've literally made it my life's career to stick it to the man. Then I be the man.
My
And I was
favorite part though is his insistence that he's never had a desk before, and Sam goes,
it's
"Sir, you have a
you have
desk." It's
this.
like, what? I do.
That was so funny.
Um, and so then they have a ceremony where Jack gets his promotion and his charge of the base, and he makes his first act of duty as commander to promote Sam.
I cried.
I
I know I
cried.
said this somewhat. This whole episode was just like, but I did cry at the
I
end.
cried, and if you looked close enough, Richard Dean Anderson was also for like legit crying. Like there were legitimate tears in his eyes as he's pinning Sam in that scene. I don't know if you noticed, but I sure did.
I did
Yeah,
because I was crying.
yeah.
So
Um, and then just in case you thought we were gonna possibly end on a happy note, we get a quick scene back to Fifth on his escape ship where we find out he has created a replicator spouse version of Carter for himself. Yeah.
I bet this causes some problems.
Yeah. Um, so what are your thoughts?
I mean, I think I covered a lot of them throughout the
Yeah.
episode, but I mean, I'm interested to see where we're gonna go from here. I'm a little bummed since I came up with the Cumulus be a good addition, and now I know he's not.
I'm so
Um,
sorry. I didn't mean to react as strongly as I did on that.
it's okay. And I didn't really think it was true, but it was just one of those things that just came to me in the moment. I was like, that could be it, and then it wasn't. Because I don't know what's gonna happen, and I'm concerned I'm gonna hate it, but probably not. But like maybe. Um, because I feel like with Sam getting promoted, Jack leaving the team, like they're gonna have to have somebody else in their team. It just is what it is. That's how it works. The three of them are not gonna be able to like go about on their own. But it was definitely a military person, and I think it's good.
Yeah.
Maybe a science person. I was thinking more militaristic, but since Sam's promoted, they might want a lowly science person, I guess. I don't know. But I'm excited for the season. I'm really excited to start Atlantis. With no information. I've literally zero information. It's just a new thing and new and shiny and exciting.
Yeah.
Um, so I can't wait for that. I'm trying to think. There's nothing that happened in this episode that changed my feelings from last episode, I guess, or like changed my predictions. Like I don't feel any differently
Yeah.
than I did.
Okay.
So
Well, I only have one real trivia thing that isn't something that we talked about already with the whole seasons upon seasons of new things. And that is that the original draft of this script ended at the end of the pinning ceremony. It was supposed to end with the swearing in ceremony. And then in one of the
oh,
final draft versions, Robert Cooper was like, "Hey, I have an idea." And he wrote the replicator twist is like basically the very last draft of the scene of the
that's
episode.
exciting.
When everybody was like, ah, "Oh, okay."
I like it. I think it felt a little strange because I could feel that the pinning ceremony was the end.
Yeah.
But I mean, I like it.
It
I'm
felt like
interested to.
it felt like a Marvel post-credit scene.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
It's very good, very gets you excited about what's happening, very disjointed to the rest of the episode. It
Mhm.
absolutely was a Marvel post-credit scene.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm
Stargate did
interested to see how
everything.
that's gonna go.
Stargate did everything before everyone else.
I know they really did.
What a time. Well, who do you want to punch?
I don't know. I mean, I guess fifth. Was he just stirring things up? And I don't think I really disliked anyone else this episode.
Yeah, I think fifth is the correct choice. I really do think that nobody else is really punchable. Um, but despite the way it all worked out in the end, and despite the fact that he was taking a calculated risk, um, I'm gonna punch Thor for putting the replicator on the ship and just hope for the best.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Because that's a choice. Who is your MVP?
I'm gonna have to go with Jack. I'm gonna have to go with Jack. He, made this flip and he didn't know what it was, and brought us humor, and took the job as general, and
Yeah.
promoted Sam. Like all the good things for Jack.
Yeah. I am gonna go. I'm gonna go with Weir for a doing a pretty decent job of running the SGC when she had the chance, and also knowing
Hmm.
that it was not for her and taking a step back into a place that was much better suited for her.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
100%.
Well, next week we start Stargate Atlantis.
Eek.
Eek. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Atlantis is like such a formidable part, like, of who I am.
That
Because,
makes me a little nervous.
well, so here's the thing. Stargate SG-1 started in 1997. I was 5. And like my parents watched it. They were they were nerdy people. They watched sci-fi shows. And so like I watched bits and pieces of it when it first came out, and I like probably watched good chunks of it without really understanding it, and then I like had to go back and watch it as an adult. Um but I was 12 when Atlantis premiered. And so like this is probably the first show that like as a teenager, like sci-fi show that as a teenager I watched from open to start. Like and like so it is like a defining part of who I am. So
That's fair.
yeah, because the oh, yeah, it started in 2004. So it started before Doctor Who came back.
Oh yeah, because that was 09, right?
It was in 2005.
05? Are you sure?
Yeah, I know. I know. But so this started before Doctor Who came back. It started when I was old enough to care. So like it's a big part of why I turned out the way I turned out.
Okay.
And
Excited.
no, and so and obviously like ugh, Rodney, Dr. McKay is gonna come back, and I can't wait for you
I
guys to see
definitely.
him the way I know him. And my actual absolute favorite character on the show is not in season 1, so we have a little bit of time
Mm.
before that, but ugh, I can't wait.
What are you gonna do if I hate him?
Who, my favorite
Your
character?
your favorite character.
You won't. Yeah. Um, you won't. So next week will in fact be we will be watching Stargate Atlantis season 1, episode 1, which is Rising Part 1. Um, and that is also on Amazon. Both series are entirely on Amazon Prime.
Today.
Uh, if you forget, it's not up. It's not up now while we're recording, but by the time this is actually airing, we will have pinned the post to Instagram with a list of the order of the shows. So if you have any thoughts, theories, feelings, predictions, excitement about Atlantis, you can email us at deathandaliens@gmail.com or follow us on all of the social media at Death and Aliens. You can find me everywhere at EMKAY underscore EMKAY superstar.
And you can find me at CE Cloud 13.
And we will see you on Thursday for another episode of Thriller Thursday.
See ya.
Bye.